You ever wake up on Christmas morning, maybe, and realize you're completely alone? Not like, oh, I'm single this year, alone. I mean absolutely alone. No smells of breakfast, no sound of laughter, no voices calling your name down the hall. Just silence. Cold, sharp, personal silence. That's how I found out my entire family had left for our Christmas vacation, without me. I'm Elisa Campbell, I'm 29, and this is the year I finally stopped making excuses for people who don't even remember to knock before walking out of your life. December 25th, 8:42 a.m. The sun pushed through the gap in my curtains and landed straight across my face. I blinked a few times, groggy, then shot up like I'd been struck. 8:42? No, that can't be right. We were supposed to leave at 7 o'clock sharp. 4 SUVs, 6 cabins. I made the entire plan. I even created a shared Google Calendar with color-coded timelines. I never oversleep, especially not on days like this. I called out into the hallway. Mom, Dad, Sophia? No answer. I climbed out of bed barefoot and rushed down the hall. The air was freezing. My voice bounced back at me, the echo of someone trying to pretend they aren't panicking. The kitchen was quiet, too quiet, but something made it worse, the faint smell of cinnamon waffles. The kind I made last night, my signature, my contribution. The table still had a few half-eaten plates. Syrup puddled beside one plate, and a single mug sat half full near the sink, steam long gone. I turned toward the garage. The door was wide open. My parents' car? Gone. Sophia's car? Gone. The SUV we rented for the grandparents? Gone. My crossover? Still sitting there, alone, like me. For a full minute, I just stood in the freezing air, hair tangled, socks wet from melting snow tracked in. I looked out at the tire tracks leading away from the driveway like some twisted trail of breadcrumbs that never meant to be followed. I grabbed my phone. No messages, no missed calls. The family group chat, the one where we planned every single detail of this trip, hadn't even pinged since last night. My heart started beating in my ears. Maybe there was a mistake, I thought. Maybe they left, thinking I was in the other car. So I called my mum. She answered on the third ring. Her voice, light, effortless. "Elisa, you're up!" I swallowed. "I'm still at home." There was a pause. Then I heard her whispering, poorly muffled. "It's her. She's still there." Another voice, maybe Sophia, whispered back, "Oh my God." When Mom returned to the line, her tone had shifted. Not panicked, just cautious. "Oh, sweetheart, it must have been a mix-up. We all thought you were riding with Ethan and the cousins." "You thought?" I said, trying to keep my voice from cracking. "I told you last night we needed a head count. I reminded you, I even color-coded the car seating chart." I know. It was chaotic this morning. You know how it gets. Nobody double-checked." "Nobody noticed I wasn't there?" She hesitated. "Don't be upset, Elisa. Just fly out. We'll arrange a pickup." She said it like I had missed a dentist appointment. Not the holiday I'd spent 3 months planning, not the $15,000 vacation I had personally paid the deposit for, not the one where I wrapped 18 presents, made allergy-friendly cookies for the twins, and typed up the emergency contact list. "I'll call you later," I muttered, and hung up before she could say anything else. And then I sat. I sank down to the floor of my kitchen, my back against the fridge. Next to a bag of forgotten gift bows, I stared at nothing. Because how do you explain that feeling? When you realize no one forgot you by accident, they forgot you on purpose. It didn't matter how hard I worked, how many crises I fixed. I was always the one who made everything work, who filled the cracks, who stayed up late and woke up early. But I wasn't family. I was function. I used to think I was the glue that held us together, but glue doesn't get invited to the party. It just keeps the centerpiece from falling apart. That morning, I felt like the dumbest person in the world for believing that if I gave enough, they'd love me back. I pulled out my laptop to check flights. I still wanted to believe this could be salvaged. Instead, what I found changed everything. But that's chapter 2. If you've ever been ghosted by your own family, if you've ever felt like the only one trying to matter, this isn't just another sad Christmas story. This is one of those revenge stories where, for once, the quiet one doesn't stay quiet. And this time, the one left behind had the last move. Stick around. You won't want to miss what comes next. I don't know how long I sat on that kitchen floor. The tile was cold, my hands were colder, and still I sat there, surrounded by gift wrap scraps and a mug that had once held peppermint hot cocoa. My mug, the one I used every Christmas morning since I was 16. It was 9:07 a.m. They were probably halfway through Nevada by now. Singing Christmas carols, passing around the gingerbread I baked last night, laughing about how Elisa probably packed too many socks again. They weren't worried, they weren't calling, they weren't even sorry, and the worst part, I wasn't even surprised. Because if I'm honest, this wasn't the first time my family forgot how to be a family. I remember my 26th birthday. Dinner was quiet. No cake, no candles, just microwaved pasta, and Sophia shrugging, saying, "Sorry, everyone's really busy this year." A week later, they threw a massive birthday party for Ethan at an Italian place. 20 guests, custom cake, and Sophia giving a toast about how Ethan makes everyone feel seen. I wasn't angry back then, just embarrassed, hurt, told myself not to be petty. Same thing happened when my dog Finn got sick. Fever spiked to 104 degrees. I stayed up all night nursing him and still logged on to fix our family camping itinerary. Because Aunt Karen had accidentally booked Texas instead of Colorado. I didn't get "How's Finn?" I got a text. "Did you fix it yet? Everyone's waiting." Even last year, when Grandpa was in the ICU, I took 3 unpaid days off work to help Mum at the hospital. I sat by Grandpa's bed while she cried. I handled all the nurses. Sophia, she didn't show up once. But at the funeral, she gave a speech like they'd gone fishing every weekend. I remember sitting in the front row, watching her lie beautifully into a microphone while I checked on catering. She got applause. I got clean-up duty. And somehow, I convinced myself that was love. I used to think being the reliable one meant being appreciated, that one day they'd say, "Elisa, we couldn't have done this without you." But now I see it. I wasn't the backbone of this family. I was the doormat. I carried everyone else's chaos like it was my job. I was the yes girl, the fixer, the scheduler, the cleaner, the last to sit down at the table, and the first to get blamed if anything fell apart. You ever feel like that, like you're not even in the family, you're just the unpaid staff? Let me know in the comments if that's ever been you, honestly, because I swear for years I thought I was crazy for feeling this way, but it wasn't just the past that hurt. It was the realization that they were fine doing this. They didn't forget me. They excluded me. I could feel it, like a weight settling into my chest. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was the result of years of them deciding I was useful, not valuable. Because think about it, who else could book a resort, organise cabins for people with food allergies, print out vegan menus, wrap gifts for everyone's kids, and still be considered too controlling? Me. And I played right into it, every single time. I once overheard my uncle say I have that chronic single energy. Sophia laughed. I laughed too, because that's what you do when you don't want to be the problem. And yet, here I was, on Christmas morning, left behind like a coat someone forgot to grab. I finally stood up. My legs ached, my hands were still trembling. I picked up the gift baskets I'd arranged the night before, each tagged with names in gold marker. Sophia's was filled with her favourite skincare. Ethan's had a Nintendo gift card. Even Oliver, her fiancé, had a new leather wallet. I'd spent hours assembling them, all from my own savings that should have gone toward fixing my car or something for myself. But I hadn't bought anything for me in months, because family always came first, until now. I looked at the clock, 9:23 a.m. If I was fast, I could still catch a flight out to Aspen and pretend none of this happened, smile in their photos, act like it was all just a scheduling error. But something in me cracked, not broke, cracked, like an ice sheet right before it splinters across the lake. For the first time in years, I didn't reach for my planner. I reached for my laptop. I wasn't flying to Aspen, not yet. I was going to figure out exactly how deep this betrayal ran, because something in my gut said this wasn't just forgetfulness, it was a plan, a deliberate decision, and if that was true, I was done being nice about it. By 10:10 a.m., I wasn't sad anymore. I was alert. You know that moment when your gut flips, not because you're hurt, but because your brain suddenly whispers, something's not adding up. That was me, sitting on the edge of my bed, laptop open, every piece of my morning churning like storm clouds inside my chest. They didn't just forget me, they coordinated it. I opened my email to pull up the original booking confirmation. The cabins at Alpine Haven were under my name, every reservation, every detail. I'd paid the deposit myself, $1,300 on my personal card, because Mom said, it's easier if you just handle it. We'll Venmo you later. Spoiler, they never do. I clicked through the emails, something nagging at me. The check-in code, the itinerary, the printable PDF I'd sent to the group chat. They didn't need me physically there. They had everything they needed to check in, if they had it. That's when I opened iMessage on my laptop. I wasn't trying to spy. I just wanted to double-check something I'd sent last week. But then, a sync notification popped up. An old backup folder from my iCloud, a shared family device we all used years ago, still linked to my desktop. I had forgotten it existed. One folder stood out. Christmas 2024, Nolissa backup. I froze. My hand hovered over the mouse. The name was too specific, too cruel, too clear. I clicked. And there it was. An entire message thread. Screenshots of a group chat I had never been part of. Between Mom, Dad, Sophia, Ethan, Oliver, even Aunt Karen and my cousins Lily and Josh. The first message was from Ethan, sent last week. Ethan. So it's settled. We leave at 7:00 a.m. sharp. Nobody tells her anything. I stared at the screen, heart racing. Sophia. Elisa always makes everything stressful. Last year she colour-coded the grocery list. Oliver. Yeah, and turned the cabin kitchen into a military base. This year should actually feel like a vacation. Lily. She's not going to take this well. Ethan. She never does. She'll cry, go silent, then show up with cocoa like nothing happened. I kept scrolling. One message hit me harder than the rest. Mom. I know it's harsh, but she doesn't take hints. Maybe this year she'll finally learn we don't need her. My throat closed up. I had done everything, for years, not because I wanted praise, but because I thought I was wanted, needed, part of something. But to them, I was a burden, a nag, an unpaid event planner with a side of cocoa and anxiety. Oliver, we still have access to the check-in PDFs, right? Sophia, yes, I printed them and put them in my glove box, deleted from the group chat right after. Karen, did she see anything? Sophia, no, I watched her walk upstairs last night. She was humming. I remember that moment. I was humming. I had just finished filling the travel mugs with hot cocoa, one with almond milk for Mom, one with peppermint for Lily's kids. I'd tied ribbons on the handles. They watched me and still left. At some point, I stopped crying, the kind of pain that sharp doesn't allow for tears. It's like your soul goes quiet so it doesn't shatter from the noise. And in that quiet, I made a decision. No more defending people who planned my erasure. No more playing the mature one. They used my card, my planning, my generosity. And now they were probably pulling into Alpine Haven, confident everything was ready, because Elisa handled it. Well, Elisa was done. I pulled up the resort website, logged into my account. The booking was still active. Check-in wasn't until 3:00 p.m. It was 10:47 a.m. They were hours away from realizing that the one person they didn't need was the one person who could pull the plug. My cursor hovered over cancel reservation. There was a warning in red, no refunds for cancellations within 72 hours. I clicked anyway. Then I picked up the phone and called the resort directly. Alpine Haven, this is Monica speaking. Hi, I said calmly. This is Elisa Campbell. I'm the primary on reservation number AH170. I need to cancel the entire booking. A pause. Ma'am, this is a peak holiday weekend. We typically don't allow. My family is attempting to use a reservation paid for with my card after excluding me from the trip completely. I'm happy to verify everything and accept the cancellation fees. Another pause. Then, let me transfer you to a supervisor. I waited, hands steady, breathing slow. It was the most clarity I'd felt in years. A man picked up. This is Patrick, Senior Reservations. I've reviewed your account. Given the circumstances and the evidence you've provided. He took a breath. We'll issue a full refund to the original card. It may take 3-5 business days to reflect. My eyes closed. Relief, not joy, not revenge, just release. Thank you, I said. One more thing? Yes? When they arrive, just let them know the booking was cancelled by the account holder. No further details necessary. Patrick paused, then quietly, we'll handle it professionally. And, Ms. Campbell? Wishing you a peaceful holiday, even if it's not the usual kind. I hung up and stared at the blinking cursor in my browser. Then I opened my email, typed one short message, attached the cancellation receipt, and included screenshots of the group chat. Subject line, not an oversight, a decision. I scheduled it to send at exactly 3:01 p.m., right as they would be standing outside the front desk. Confused, not because I wanted to hurt them, but because I finally chose me. By 2:45 p.m., they were pulling into the resort. I knew because I'd tracked the route on Find My. Thanks, family iPad still logged into my account. Their 4 SUVs were parked at the snowy entrance of Alpine Haven. The kids were probably squirming in the back seats. I could practically see it, 16 people standing in the middle of a luxury mountain resort parking lot, dressed in their REI puffers and Lululemon leggings, looking around like someone else dropped the ball. And for once, it wasn't me. According to the timestamp, the email hit their inbox 1 minute before check-in. Subject line, not an oversight, a decision. Inside, the cancellation receipt, the group chat screenshots, a single sentence. If I'm not needed at the table, you won't need what I brought to it. I imagined the silence, the dread, the shame, or maybe the scramble to find someone else to blame. Because that's what they do best. You know what sound I didn't hear? Apology. No one texted, "I'm sorry." No one said, "We messed up." They were all too busy being inconvenienced. It was snowing lightly. The check-in counter had turned them away. The rooms were no longer reserved. And the nearby hotels, fully booked for the holidays. Ethan sent a photo. It was the entrance of Alpine Haven, covered in snow. Behind him, Mom was pointing at the front desk. Sophia looked frozen, literally and emotionally. Oliver had his arms crossed, standing beside the luggage like a man preparing for war. He captioned it, "You seriously left us homeless on Christmas." That's when I laughed, out loud. Because that's the thing about people like them. They'll gaslight you into believing you abandoned them right after they've left you behind like trash. At 4:10 p.m, I got a final message from Mom. "The receptionist says the reservation holder cancelled. Was that you? Why would you do that to your own family?" I didn't reply, because that wasn't a real question. It was a test, a guilt trip in disguise, a last-ditch attempt to reframe me as the problem, and I wasn't playing that game anymore. The truth is, they weren't homeless. They had cars, credit cards, each other. But what they didn't have was me. No one to sort the luggage tags, no one to remind them of Grandma's dairy allergy, no one to navigate the group rate ski passes or call the restaurant to make sure Lily's vegan boyfriend didn't get served pork stew again. They had everything, except the person who made everything work, and that was the real loss. Meanwhile, I was packing. Passport, check. Notebook, 2 books, yoga mat. Flight to Chiang Mai at 9:20 the next morning. I wasn't running away. I was finally walking away with my head up. And for once, I wasn't crying as I zipped the suitcase. I wasn't asking, "Will they miss me?" Because I already knew the answer. They didn't miss me. They missed the free labor, the emotional janitor, the human buffer. But that version of me was gone. I scheduled one last thing before bed. At exactly 8:00 a.m. the next morning, every person in that No Elisa group chat would receive a final email. No extra commentary, just a forwarded message from the resort confirming that the primary card holder, me, had been fully refunded. And a footnote, I wasn't forgotten. I was erased, but not anymore. They thought I'd show up anyway, thought I'd fly out, shrug it off, smile in the background of family photos and pretend it didn't gut me, because that's who I'd always been. But they forgot something. Even quiet people have a breaking point, and when that silence finally speaks, it doesn't ask for a seat, it clears the entire table. By 8:00 a.m. the next morning, I was already at the airport. Hair in a loose braid, no makeup, hoodie, passport in hand, no drama, no one chasing me through security, no last-minute tears. Just me, boarding a flight to Thailand, while the people who left me behind were finally standing still with nothing left to take from me. I sat by the window at a quiet airport cafe and opened my laptop. Right on time, the final email sent itself out. Subject line, I wasn't forgotten, I was excluded, and now I'm done. I didn't check for replies. I didn't need closure. I didn't need their outrage. I didn't even need their guilt. All I needed was space. The plane lifted off at 9:24 a.m. As we rose above the snowy peaks of Flagstaff, I didn't feel sad, not even a little. I thought I'd cry, thought I'd feel that old ache in my throat, the one that always came when I imagined life without them. But instead, there was just stillness, a soft, slow breath, a quiet I hadn't felt in years. The kind that doesn't ask for forgiveness, the kind that doesn't wait to be invited, the kind that finally chooses peace over people who never picked you back. Chiang Mai was green and golden and gentle. I spent the first day barefoot in a bamboo bungalow, sipping lemongrass tea. The second day, I walked alone through the forest at sunrise, journal in hand, and cried for all the versions of me I'd stretched thin for people who never said thank you. The third day, I slept for 10 hours straight. No group texts, no guilt, no checking to see if they'd changed their minds. Because honestly, I didn't care anymore. Not out of bitterness, out of clarity. Some bridges need to burn so you can stop walking in circles. I came home 10 days later. The snow had started to melt in Flagstaff. The air was soft, like it had been holding its breath. I walked into my house, the one Grandma left me, and everything felt different. Not because anything had moved, but because I had. And someone else noticed too, because sitting on the couch was my dad. Arms crossed, brows heavy. Behind him, my mum. Silent, tired, small. And next to her, Sophia. Why she was there, I had no idea, but her purse was on the table like she planned to stay a while. I said nothing, walked straight into the kitchen, put on the kettle. Then came back and said, "If anyone interrupts me once, I walk away. Clear?" They all nodded. Good. I didn't scream, didn't slam my hand on the table, didn't pull out the email printouts or start listing their offences. I just spoke. I've paid every bill in this house since Grandma died. Mortgage, taxes, repairs, the roof last year, that was me. They stayed quiet. You always said, family doesn't keep score. But somehow you always knew how to keep track of what I owed, never what I gave. Mum shifted, but didn't speak. I read every message in that group chat, and before any of you try to say it was just a joke or we were stressed, I need you to know, I believed for years that being the reliable one would earn me love, but it only earned me silence. Sophia opened her mouth. I raised a hand. Don't. Then I breathed in and delivered the line I'd practiced on the plane. Starting next month, if you want to continue living here, rent is $1,850. Utilities separate. You'll receive a lease agreement via email. If you don't agree, you have 60 days to vacate. The room went still. Sophia looked like I slapped her. My dad let out a small, bitter chuckle. "You gonna live here alone in a 3-bedroom house?" he asked. I smiled, slow and soft. "No," I said. "The upstairs is already listed on Airbnb, booked through April, families from Seattle, then a couple from Denver, and a retired teacher from Toronto." I turned toward my mum. Her eyes were red. "I never thought you'd turn this cold," she whispered. I looked at her carefully. "No," I said. "I turned honest, and you mistook that for cruelty." A few days later, I got a text from Ben, my cousin, the only person who wasn't in the No Elisa group chat. "Got a minute?" he asked. Not calling for them, just me. He came over with coffee and a box of ginger cookies, sat down and said, "I read every message, and I'm ashamed I didn't say anything sooner." Then he added, "If you ever need someone to carry boxes, mop a floor, or be your designated emotional trash man during this detox, I'm here." I didn't cry, I just nodded, and that was enough. A week after that, I found an envelope in the mailbox. No name. Inside, a photo. Me and Sophia, maybe age 9, wrapped in blankets in the backyard, holding hot chocolate. On the back, in pencil. Maybe we forgot where we started, but I remember, we were friends once. I didn't know if it was an apology, but it didn't sting. It didn't bring me back. It just reminded me of what used to be, and what I wouldn't beg for again. Nowadays, I say no more often. No, I won't be at that baby shower if I wasn't invited directly. No, I won't co-sign birthday cards from the whole family. No, I won't leave the door unlocked just in case someone feels guilty enough to stop by. But here's what I do say yes to. Yes to Tuesday night photography classes. Yes to early morning hikes alone. Yes to rebuilding what home means, with people who show up with respect, not just expect it. And you, if you're still watching, let me ask you this. Have you ever been the person holding it all together, only to realize no one would have done the same for you? Have you ever been erased quietly just so someone else's holiday could feel more relaxed? Then this story isn't just mine, it's ours. Drop in the comments if you've ever felt left out by the people who were supposed to protect you, not because we need pity, but because maybe, just maybe, it's time more of us chose peace over permission. You don't need a table that doesn't want you there. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is leave it empty.